It's been about a month since The Boys ended, and despite all its flaws, I can confidently say Homelander becoming depowered and breaking down like a child was definitely my favorite moment in the finale. As soon as Homelander lost his powers in front of Butcher, he was gonna get his ass handed to him. But this got me thinking, with Homelander nerfed to our level, and if someone else was in that White House room that day, who else could have taken out this human Homelander in a fight? Now before we start tiering, we should probably power scale how strong a human Homelander would be. For his age, we know that Homelander is at least 45 years old, since it was revealed in season 3 that he was born in 1981, making him middle age, which is bad for John since he won't be as strong or as fast as someone in their 20s or 30s. In terms of fighting experience, he should at least have some basic knowledge of combat, like knowing how to throw a 1-2 or putting your hands up to guard, but he's by no means a talented or even skilled martial artist, since people like Maeve and Butcher have been shown numerous times to outclass Homelander in terms of raw combat skill. But saying Homelander in general has no fighting skills is really disingenuous, since Vought would have absolutely given him some training exercises and taught him proper techniques to control his powers. Like, I know the ending made him look bad, but that was only because he had to go up against Butcher, a man who served in the British military and worked as a CIA Black Ops operative, who hated Homelander so much that he was willing to poison his body and mind to see him dead. But if we were to compare Homelander to an average person, he should be slightly more capable in a fight than a random civilian that you would find walking on the street. So with this out of the way, who could actually beat up human Homelander? So I decided to split this up into tiers. The first tier is Homelander victim. Homelander would win against this character very easily. Could get a few punch-in means that they would show a little resistance and could get a few lucky hits in, but would still lose to Homelander in the end. Even matchup. This means that this fight could go either way. Neither opponent has a significant advantage over one another where they could completely dominate the fight, making it 50-50 on who would come out alive. Would win but would have some difficulties is pretty self-explanatory. They would win against Homelander, but not as convincingly as Butcher. And final tier is...
I'll fucking suck your dick, please! I'll do anything! You want me to eat shit? I'll eat your fucking shit!
Homelander has no chance of beating this person, and is getting obliterated. So first up, we got Debbie Grayson. So ignoring all the memes of her one-shotting Viltrumites, she is the perfect mother and the best human character in Invincible. However, in terms of fighting, I don't see her lasting very long against a depowered Homelander. For one, she is just a normal human with no experience in martial arts. However, she does possess a strong will, and this is most evident when she stood up against Angstrom Levy and even attacked him to protect Oliver. But she would still be physically weaker than a human Homelander. In the official guidebooks for Invincible, her weight is around 60 kilograms. And if you were to use Anthony Starr as reference, Homelander would range anywhere from 70 to 80 kilograms, which is about 180 pounds for those in America. The big weight gap would mean Homelander's punches will be doing way more damage and would win in almost every single grappling situation. So like, if Homelander just decided to go on top of Debbie, well, that sounded wrong. Like, if the fight ever went to the ground and Homelander just decided to sit on top of Debbie, there's very little she could do. But I still think she can get a good hit in, given how she lives in a universe where even fodder characters like Elephant Man could bully Homelander even with powers. So Debbie would go in the could get a good punch in tier. Steve Rogers pre-serum. I mean, just look at the dude. There's no way he's beating Homelander. If you look at the stats before he got the serum, he only weighed about 95 pounds or 40 kilograms, meaning an average person with no weight training could easily bench press his whole body weight. And when he was in the military, he couldn't even do one push-up. Not to mention all of the health issues he's riddled with, such as asthma and a whole bunch of other illnesses that would hinder him from winning. So yeah, no debate, he's a Homelander victim. Hughie Campbell. I'm kinda torn on Hughie, because I could see this being an even matchup or him winning with very hard difficulty. Hughie is obviously not some hardened fighter like Butcher was, and only started showing some combat prowess in season 4 and 5. And no, Hughie is not stronger than Homelander, just because he landed a punch on Butcher. Butcher was clearly holding back and didn't want to seriously hurt him, due to Butcher viewing Hughie as a surrogate little brother reminding him of Lenny. So in terms of strength, I actually think they're quite even, with Hughie actually being slightly taller than John, giving him extra reach. This tier is honestly debatable, but I'm gonna put him in the even matchup tier. Feel free to discuss in the comments if you think he should be higher. Light Yagami. I can't help but think that there's some parallels between these two.
I will become the god of this new world.
I am God!
Anyway, Light is shown to be very athletic in the show and is a pretty good representation of the perfect student, the smartest in his country and is generally good at sports. But how does this help him with Homelander? Not much. The only real fight we've seen him in is his little scuffle with L where he sucker punches him, which doesn't mean anything because this does nothing in the next scene where Light punches him again and it does nothing and L tanks it like a chad. So he's not particularly strong in 1v1 fights. In fact, there's one more factor that severely puts Light at a disadvantage. In the official Death Note guidebooks, his official weight is only 54 kilograms, making him a flyweight. So most of the arguments I said about Debbie can apply to Light. Homelander will punch harder and can basically throw Light across the room and tackle him whenever he wants. However, I still think he would try and put up a little bit of a fight, meaning Light would go in the could get a few punches in tier. Dexter Morgan. Yeah, Dexter kinda just bodies Homelander here. Dexter is an athlete who is highly proficient in judo and jiu-jitsu, and has even taken down people like Dokes who previously served in the military. Dexter could easily outbox, grapple, or get Homelander in a chokehold to win the fight. It's really not close. Even Dexter, who's way older in Resurrection and in New Blood, would pack up this fraud easily. Homelander is going to be offering Dexter Brain to stop if he was in that office. Tony Stark. Despite Tony relying on his Iron Man suits in combat, he does have some experience without it. While he's obviously not on the same level as someone like Black Widow or Hawkeye, I would argue he's still a better martial artist than Homelander. He received training from Happy and was briefly able to fight against the Winter Soldier, a super soldier with a gun, while all he had was one Iron Man glove, and he even managed to land a hit on him. There was also Age of Ultron where he managed to beat an Ultron drone all by himself with just a screwdriver. And to top it all off, Iron Man 3 basically proves that he can fight people without his suit and can outsmart his opponents. While he obviously wouldn't win as convincingly as Butcher, I still think he would come out on top. So Tony goes in the can win but with high difficulty. Dipper Pines. Now at first glance you'd rightfully assume he would be a Homelander victim. He's only 12 and he doesn't have that much muscles and is generally portrayed to be the weaker sibling out of the two. And I think there was even an official Gravity Falls Flash game where his sister was confirmed to be stronger than Dipper. But what if I told you he was actually stronger than you think? Dipper, despite being only a child, he probably has the most impressive feats of strength on this list. The first major one that comes to mind would be his encounter with Rumble McSkirmish, a character who is strong enough to destroy trees with one punch and can produce fireballs to a small building level degree. And he survived a fight with him as well, tanking an ultimate attack where he wasn't holding back, coming out with only bruises and cuts. If that wasn't enough to convince you, he was also able to fight off a giant bear one-on-one and won through submission. He is absolutely gonna murder Homelander. Walter White. He's absolutely getting farmed by Homelander. He's not athletic in the slightest. His lung cancer would severely cripple his ability to fight. This dude couldn't even run down a few flights of stairs without coughing and losing breath. And all of the impressive things he's done throughout the show was either due to prep time or with a weapon of some kind. On top of that, he's lost every fight with Jesse Pinkman, a malnourished, skinny, underweight drug addict with no martial arts skills. Homelander victim easily. Next is Bear from Obsession. I have no idea. Judging off his build, he looks physically fit, but I'm willing to bet he doesn't have any combat experience. And given how he's portrayed in the film to be very shy and timid, I don't imagine he'll handle violence all that well. So if Homelander decided to throw a couple haymakers at him, he'd probably fold and panic. So he'd probably be a Homelander victim. And that's pretty much it for the list. If you think I got anything wrong with the placements, feel free to drop it in the comments below, and I'll see you again in the next one.